When Mary was a little girl, she wondered what it would be like when she grew up. Many years passed, and then something happened that no one could explain. The angel Gabriel came to Mary and said, "You have been chosen by God. You will be the mother of God." But what did it mean? She was engaged to a man named Joseph, who was a carpenter in Nazareth. An angel appeared to Joseph as well and said, "Mary is going to have a baby, and the baby will be God." Now Joseph was confused too, but Mary and Joseph were married anyway, and the baby was born, and they named him Jesus. As the baby grew, many more things began to happen that were hard to understand. When the baby was just 8 days old, they took him to the temple to be presented to God, as was the custom. And when they got to the temple, old Simeon was waiting and said, "Now I can die, for I have seen the Messiah." When Jesus was about 12 years old, Mary and Joseph lost him in the city of Jerusalem. When they found him, he was in the temple, and he said something like this, "Didn't you know I would be in my Father's house?" But Joseph's house was in Nazareth, where his carpenter shop was. This was hard to understand. As he got older and grew into a man, more things began to happen. When Jesus began teaching, he went back to his home synagogue in Nazareth and read from a scroll of Isaiah. In the scroll, he read about the coming of the Messiah, and Jesus said, "I am the one." Mary must have remembered the angel, but the people of Nazareth were angry, and they tried to throw Jesus off a cliff. Another time, Mary and Jesus were at a wedding in Cana, and Jesus turned water into wine. And then, one day, Mary and his brother went to hear Jesus teaching. He said the people that followed him were his family, not them. Now his brother was confused too. And then Jesus went to Jerusalem for the last time. And when they put him on the cross, Mary was standing there, probably near one of the disciples named John. You may hear beautiful pieces of music written about this. They are often called the Stabat Mater, which means the mother standing, because the mother was just standing there. Jesus looked down from the cross and said, "Woman, behold your son," and to a disciple, "Behold your mother." And the disciple, who was probably John, took Mary into his home and took care of her in her old age. And Mary was still there when they took Jesus off of the cross. And you can see paintings and sculptures of her holding Jesus. These are called the Pieta, which means pity. That may have been how she was feeling. 3 days later, on the first Easter, Mary went to the tomb. Those days between when Jesus died and when they found the tomb empty must have been very hard for Mary. But when they got to the tomb, she saw that Jesus was still with her, just like Jesus is still with us today. And after Jesus ascended, Mary was with the disciples when they went to Mount Olivet, and she was with them 1 week later when a mighty wind rushed into the upper room. and the fire came down, which was the Holy Spirit. No one knows when Mary died or where she is buried. This is a type of story that never ends. When Mary was all grown up, she kept on growing. She was truly the Mother of God. People still try to be close to Mary. They name churches after her, and they go on pilgrimages to places where they feel close to her. And so instead of ending this story, we will put down some of Mary's flowers, the forget-me-nots, because she will never be forgotten.